Hello students, today's our topic is cell. What do you mean by cell? Cell is the building blocks or the structural unit of all living organisms. Okay. What do you mean by the building blocks or the structural unit? Means all the living organisms are made with cell. Okay. According to the size of the organism, the number of the cell which is present will be different, but all the organisms are made with cells. For example, see, there are so many types of buildings are around us, isn't it? So a small building is having less number of bricks and a big building is having more number of bricks. Even the number of the bricks which is present in between these two are different, still both are made with what? Bricks. Okay, like that the number of the cell which is present in an organism will be different according to the size, but all organisms are made with cells only. For example, say amoeba or bacteria, all these are made with a single cell. All these are single celled organism. What about human beings? We have got trillions of cells in our body. See, both these, like amoeba and human beings, both are made with cells, and the number of the cell which is present inside will be different. So that we can call cell as a structural unit of an organism. Means all organisms are made with cell. Without cell, no organism will be there. Okay, and it is also the functional unit of life. What do you mean by the functional unit? See, there are so many activities are taking place in our body. So when I am talking to you, my heart is beating, the blood inside my body is circulating, I am taking respiration, and the food is digesting, I can move. So, and so many hormones are producing in the body. So all these activities are taking place in the body because of the cell. Okay. So what are the activities, whatever the functions that an organism is performing, all these things because of the cell. Okay, cells are doing. Without cell, no activity cannot be takes place in the organism. Okay. See, we can take blood as an example. Blood is circulating in our body. One of the function of the blood is that it is a carrier of oxygen. Okay, blood is circulating in all over the body and it is supplying the oxygen. And how the blood is made with? So many cells are there inside, like RBC, WBC, platelet, like that. So many cells are there. Without cell, blood cannot form. Okay, so like that, all the activities which are taking place in our body is with the help of the cell. Okay, so that's why we can call cell as a functional unit. So what is the meaning of these two? All the organisms are made with cell. Without cell, no organism will be there. So that we can call cell as the structural unit of all living beings, and all the activities or the functions which are taking place in an organism is because of the cell. Okay, ultimately cells are doing all the activities. Okay, so that we can call cell as the functional unit of all organisms. Have you understood? And cell is the least unit which can exist as a living thing. Okay, cell can independently exist as a living thing also. And as you know, most of the cells are microscopic. Microscopic means we have to use a microscope to observe the cell. With our naked eyes, almost all cells we cannot see. Okay, so that if you are using your common sense, you can assume that the first discovery was of microscope. Okay, discovery of microscope really leads to the discovery of cell. Okay, firstly the microscope was discovered and afterwards the cell has been discovered. Okay, so let us see what is about the discovery of microscope. A scientist named Antony von Leeuwenhoek is made the first microscope, that was a simple microscope. Okay, it was a simple microscope. Why we are calling it as a simple microscope? Because only one lens was used over there. Okay, so Antony von Leeuwenhoek discovered the microscope first, and that microscope was a simple microscope in which only one one lens was used. Okay, and it was able to magnify the object approximately 300 times. Means what is the size of an object which you are taking under this simple microscope? It was making it bigger 300 times of its original size. Okay, so Antony van Leeuwenhoek was the scientist who discovered the simple microscope, and what he observed under that? He observed the blood of the frog. The blood of the frog he observed under that, and he observed something moving inside. Okay, something is moving inside there, and he observed one drop of pond water also. He has taken one drop of water. Okay, that also he observed under the microscope, and in that also he observed something is moving. Okay, and after that, the man whose name is Robert Hooke, he was a scientist really the compound microscope discovered. Okay, this man Robert Hooke is a scientist who discovered the compound microscope. Okay, so the microscope that we are using in our laboratory is common microscope that we are using in our laboratory is a compound microscope. Okay, and that is having two lenses inside. That's why we are calling it as compound microscope. Okay, and what he observed, he has taken a slice of cork. A slice of cork he taken under the microscope. Cork means what? Cork means that is a wooden, dead wooden part. Okay, that is a dead material that you are getting from the plant. Okay, that is a dead wooden part, and he has taken one slice of the cork, or a thin slice of the, or thin piece of cork he has taken, and he observed under the compound microscope. And it was something like this. When he observed through the microscope, that he was observed the structures like this. Okay, these structures are just like closed rooms. Okay, all these structures were appeared like closed rooms, so that he called it as cell. Why? Because cell means the word meaning is closed room. Okay, and it is coming from a Latin word cellula. Cellula is a Latin word. From that word the word cell is coming. Okay, have you understood? So what we have discussed, see, two persons are there in the discovery of microscope. The first person is Antony van Leeuwenhoek. He discovered a simple microscope. It was only one lens in that. That's why we are calling it as a simple microscope. And the capacity of the magnification means what is the original size of the object. From that, 300 times bigger it can magnify the object. Okay, 300 times. And in that microscope, Antony van Leeuwenhoek observed the blood of the frog, and he observed one drop of pond water. And in both cases, he has observed something is moving inside, but he didn't call it as cell. Okay, and afterwards, Robert Hooke is a scientist who discovered the compound microscope. Compound microscope means in this microscope two lenses were used, and it has the capacity to magnify the object approximately 2000 times. Okay, it was only 300 times, the simple was only 300 times, whereas the compound microscope was approximately 2000 times, because it has got the capacity to magnify the object. And what he observed under that, he observed the cork. What do you mean by cork? The dead wooden part is known as what? Cork. Okay, and he has taken a slice of cork, a thin piece of cork, and he observed under the microscope, and it was appearing like this. Okay, this kind of a structure he observed, and all these structures has got the similarity to a closed room, so that he called it as cell. Because in Latin, cellula means closed room, and the word cell is coming from the Latin word cellula. Okay, so all these are about the discovery of microscope. After the discovery of microscope, so many scientists has started to study more about the cell. Okay, and what is the name of the study, the branch of biology which is dealing with the study of cells are known as cytology. Okay, cytology means the branch of biology which is dealing with cells. Okay, the study of cells is known as cytology. So many scientists started to study about the cells. Okay, and like that, the first scientist whose name is Matthias Sleden. Okay, Matthias Sleden. He was discovered. He was a botanist, and he discovered that all the plants are made with cells. Okay, all the plants are made with what? Cells. He said that all the plants are made with cells. That was in 1838. After 1 year, another scientist whose name is Theodor Schwann. Theodor Schwann. He was a zoologist. Zoologist means a scientist who is studying about animals. He told that all the animals are made with cells. Okay, and these 2 points clubbed together or joined together, and it was called as cell theory. So what is cell theory? So I am talking about the old cell theory. Okay, so after the discovery of the microscope, one scientist whose name is Matthias Sleden, he has discovered that what all the plants are made with cells. Okay, he observed so many kinds of plants under the microscope, and he discovered that all these plants are made with cells. So he said that all the plants are made with cells. Okay, another scientist, after 1 year, another scientist whose name is Theodor Schwann, he told that all the animals are made with cells. So these 2 ideas clubbed together, and it became the cell theory. And after that, in 1858, another scientist whose name is Rudolf Virchow, he said that a new cell is arising from the pre-existing cell. Means, see, we all are having parents. Okay, without parents, no kids will be there. So, like that, all the newly formed cells are coming out from a parent cell. Without a parent cell, new cells are not forming. So that is the meaning. All the cells are arising from the pre-existing cell. Okay, suddenly a cell is not forming. To form a cell, there should be another cell. The cell is dividing and it forms a new cell. So means a parent cell is forming the new cells. So that was said by Rudolf Virchow. So who are the scientists here? Here see the Matthias Sleden who observed that all the plants are made with cells, and Theodor Schwann, he observed that all the animals are made with cells. Another scientist whose name is Rudolf Virchow, he said that all the new cells are arising from the pre-existing cell. Means all the new cells are forming from the parent cell. So all these 3 ideas are joined together, and now we are calling it as a modern cell theory. All cell theory was proposed by Matthias Sleden and Theodor Schwann, and it was modified in 1858 by the additional point which was given by Rudolf Virchow. Have you understood? So if the question is like that, what is cell theory? Means we have to answer the modern cell theory. Modern cell theory that we have to tell. So what are the points in modern cell theory? In modern cell theory, these are the points. All living beings are made up of cells. The first point in modern cell theory is that all living beings are made up of cells. And the second point is that cells are the basic structural and functional unit of all living beings. Okay, all living beings are made up of cells. Okay, I have told you already that without cell no organism will be there. Each and every organism is made with cell. That's what all living beings are made up of cell. The second point is that cells are the basic structural and functional unit of all living beings. All the functions which are taking place in an organism is because of the cell. Okay, and the third point is that new cells are arise by pre-existing cell. That's what I have told you. Without a parent cell, new cells are not forming. Okay, all the cells are forming from a pre-existing cell or a parent cell. So these 3 points are known as the modern cell theory. Okay, so as I have told you before, if the question is like that, write the cell theory. What are the things that you have to write? These 3 points that you have to write. And if the question is that who proposed cell theory, we have to write the names of these 3 scientists: the Matthias Frieden, Theodor Schwann and Rudolf Virchow. Okay, these 3 that you have to write, because the cell theory now it is said cell theory. The modern cell theory is known as a cell theory now, so that you have to mention these 3 names. Okay, so what is the summary of the class? See, cell is the building units or the building blocks of all living organism, and it is a functional unit also. And discovery of the microscope was first done by Antony von Leeuwenhoek. It was a simple microscope and he observed the living cells. Okay, living cells he observed, but he didn't call it as cell. After that, Robert Hooke discovered the compound microscope and he observed the cork under the microscope and he discovered the cell. Even though it was a dead cell, he discovered the cell and he called it as cell. And the cell theory. Cell theory is proposed by Matthias Frieden, Theodor Schwann and Rudolf Virchow. And what are the postulates in cell theory? All living beings are made up of cells. Cells are the basic structural and functional unit of all living beings. New cells are arised by the pre-existing cell. Okay, so that's all for today's class. Tomorrow we are going to discuss about the classification of organism based on the number of cells and the different shape of the cells. Thank you.